Once upon a time, in a remote African village, nestled amidst rolling hills and lush greenery, lived a girl named Abembom. Her bright eyes sparkled with curiosity, and her laughter was the music of the village. Abembom was deeply loved by her grandmother, Mama Tala, a wise elder known for her enchanting tales of old. Mama Tala had raised Abembom since she was a baby, filling her days with stories that carried the wisdom of their ancestors, and nights with the warmth of her embrace. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Abembom would sit at her grandmother's feet, listening intently to her stories. "Remember, Abembom," Mama Tala would say, her voice soft yet firm. "The world is full of wonders and dangers. Always keep your heart pure and your mind sharp." One fateful night, after a particularly gripping story about a mischievous forest spirit, Abembom fell into a deep sleep. When she awoke the next morning, she was startled by an unusual burst of excitement outside. The normally quiet village was alive with chatter and laughter. As she stepped out of her hut, she was greeted by a sight that took her breath away. In the center of the village, where there was once only bare earth, now stood a vibrant marketplace. The stalls were overflowing with colorful fabric, exotic fruit, shimmering jewelry, and toys of all kinds lined the square. The villagers moved from stall to stall, their faces alight with joy and wonder. "What is this place?" Abembom wondered out loud. "It appeared overnight," a neighbor exclaimed, "and everything is free." Abembom's heart raced with excitement. She ran back to fetch her grandmother, eager to share the marvel. But Mama Tala's face clouded with concern as soon as she saw the marketplace. "This is not natural," she murmured, her eyes narrowing. "Beware of gifts that come without a price, Abembom." Ignoring her grandmother's warning, Abembom joined the throng of villagers exploring the marketplace. She picked out a beautiful necklace for Mama Tala, a basket of rare fruit, and a woven mat for herself. She noticed that the vendors, who were oddly silent and expressionless, seemed to grow more animated with each item taken. The villagers were in a frenzy of delight. Children played with toys they had never seen before. Women wrapped themselves in luxurious fabrics, and men admired intricate tools and ornaments. It was as if a dream had come true, a paradise on earth. Yet, as the day wore on, Abembom began to notice something strange about the vendors. Their eyes, initially dull, now gleamed with a peculiar light. Their smiles, once friendly, became more sinister. Abembom felt a chill run down her spine as she caught sight of a vendor watching her intensely, his gaze piercing and unnerving. She quickly turned away, dismissing the feeling as mere imagination. That night, as Abembom lay on her bed, she felt a strange unease. Her dreams were filled with shadows and whispers. She saw the marketplace, but it was dark and twisted, the vibrant stalls now eerie and foreboding. The vendors loomed over her in her sleep, their eyes glowing, their faces twisted in cruel grins. A voice, deep and wicked, echoed through her mind. "Welcome, Abembom," it said. "You belong to us now." Abembom woke with a start, her heart pounding. She tried to shake off the nightmare, telling herself that it was just a bad dream. But the unease lingered, gnawing at the edges of her mind. The next day, the village was abuzz with excitement again. More items had appeared in the marketplace, even more wondrous than the day before. The villagers could not believe their luck. But Abembom, remembering her dream, felt a growing sense of dread. She approached Mama Tala, who was sitting quietly outside her hut, weaving a basket. "Grandmother," she said hesitantly, "I had a strange dream last night. It felt so real." Mama Tala looked up, her eyes filled with concern. "Tell me about it, child." As Abembom recounted her dream, Mama Tala's expression grew more serious. "This is a bad omen," she said finally. "The marketplace is not what it seems. We must be cautious." Abembom nodded, but she could not shake off the allure of the marketplace. She found herself drawn to it, unable to resist the pull of the free goods. She wandered among the stalls, feeling the vendors' eyes on her, their smiles growing wider and more sinister with each step she took. That night, the dreams returned, more vivid and more terrifying than before. She saw the villagers in her dreams, their faces twisted in fear, trapped in the dark version of the marketplace. The voice, now clearer, spoke again to Abembom in her dream. "You cannot escape, Abembom. You are ours." Abembom woke with a cold sweat. She knew she had to do something, but what? The villagers were oblivious to the danger, too caught up in their newfound wealth to see the signs. She decided to confront one of the vendors. Summoning her courage, she approached a stall where a man with piercing eyes and a cold smile stood. "Who are you?" Abembom asked, her voice trembling. "What is this place?" The vendor's smile widened. "We are the keepers of this market, dear child, and this place, it is a gift to your village." "A gift?" Abembom repeated, her unease growing. "Why are you giving us these things for free?" The vendor leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "Because, little one, nothing in this world is truly free. There is always a price." Abembom's heart skipped a beat. She turned and fled, the vendor's laughter echoing in her ears. She ran back to her grandmother, breathless and terrified. "Mama Tala, we have to do something. The marketplace, it is evil." Mama Tala's face hardened with resolve. "We will gather the villagers tonight. They must know the truth." That evening, as the sun set, casting long shadows over the village, Mama Tala and Abembom called for a meeting. The villagers gathered, curious and confused. "Listen to me," Mama Tala began, her voice strong and clear. "The marketplace is not what it seems. It is a trap created by a wicked force. We must stop taking the items and find a way to return what we have taken." The villagers murmured in disbelief. "But the goods are so wonderful," one man protested. "Why should we give them up?" "Because," Mama Tala replied, "if we don't, we will be trapped forever in a dark world, serving the vendors who are not human but spirits, feeding on our greed." The villagers were skeptical, but the fear in Abembom's eyes and the determination in Mama Tala's voice gave them pause. Reluctantly, they agreed to stop taking items from the marketplace. That night, the dreams were worse than ever. Abembom found herself in the dark marketplace again. The villagers around her this time, their faces pale with terror. The vendors circled them, their eyes glowing with malice. "Welcome," a deep voice boomed again. A figure emerged from the shadows, a tall being with a twisted smile and eyes that gleamed with a sinister light. "I am Bobe, the forgotten deity of this land. I thrive on human greed, and now you all belong to me." Bobe's laughter echoed through the air, sending chills down Abembom's spine. "You took my gifts without question, and now you must serve me in this realm." The villagers gasped and pleaded, but Bobe was unmoved. He commanded them to work endlessly, tending to the market stalls, never to see their families again. Despair hung heavy in the air. But Abembom, though frightened, remembered her grandmother's teachings. She knew she had to find a way out. She approached Bobe, trying to hide her fear. "Great Bobe," she said, her voice steady, "is there no way we can earn our freedom?" Bobe's eyes narrowed. "There is one way," he said, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Return everything you took, willingly. But know this, the items have become vital to your survival. Can you really part with them?" Abembom thought of the necklace she had given Mama Tala, the rare fruits and the woven mat. She knew what she had to do. She gathered the other villagers and told them about Bobe's condition. "But how can we return the items?" a villager cried. "They are in the real world and we are trapped here." Abembom closed her eyes, recalling her grandmother's stories about the power and intention of sacrifice. "We must focus on what we took and speak our wish to return them from our hearts," she said to the villagers. One by one, the villagers closed their eyes, holding the images of their taken items in their minds. They spoke words of regret and a desire to return what was not theirs. And as they did, the air around them shimmered and the items vanished from their hands, reappearing in the real world. Abembom focused on the necklace she had given her grandmother. "I'm sorry, Mama Tala," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I return this to you." The air crackled with energy as the items disappeared, and the light around them grew blinding. Abembom felt herself being pulled away, the dark marketplace fading into the distance. When she opened her eyes, she was back in her herd, and she heard the familiar sounds of the village outside. She ran outside, and to her excitement, the marketplace was gone, and the villagers were reuniting with their families, tears of joy and relief in their eyes. Mama Tala approached Abembom. "You did well, Abembom," Mama Tala said, pride and love shining in her eyes. "You freed us all." Abembom hugged her grandmother tightly, grateful to be back home and safe. But even as the village celebrated their return, Abembom could not shake off the feeling of unease. She knew that Bobe, the forgotten deity, was still out there, waiting, biding his time. Days turned into weeks, and life in the village returned to normal. But Abembom could not forget the nightmare of the Enchanted Marketplace. She found herself haunted by visions of Bobe and his wicked laughter, his eyes glowing with wickedness. Mama Tala noticed her granddaughter's troubled expression and took her aside one evening. "What troubles you, Abembom?" she asked, her voice gentle. Abembom hesitated, unsure how to voice her fears. "I can't stop thinking about Bobe," she admitted finally. "What if he comes back? What if he tries to trap us again?" Mama Tala placed a reassuring hand on Abembom's shoulder. "We cannot live in fear, my dear. We faced Bobe once and we will face him again if we must. But for now, we must focus on the present and the blessings we have." Abembom nodded, comforted by her grandmother's words. But deep down, she knew that the threat of Bobe still loomed over them like a dark cloud. Months passed, and the memory of the Enchanted Marketplace began to fade. But Abembom remained vigilant, always keeping an eye out for the signs of danger. Then one day, a traveler arrived at the village, his face paled with exhaustion and fear. "I come from a village not far from here," he said, his voice trembling. "We were visited by a strange marketplace, much like the one you described. At first, we thought it was a gift from the gods, but then his voice trailed off, and Abembom's heart sank. She knew what had happened. Bobe had struck again, spreading his web of deceit and trapping unsuspecting villagers in his dark realm. "We must warn them," Abembom said, her voice urgent. "We must stop Bobe before it's too late." Mama Tala nodded, her eyes grave. "Gather the villagers. We will not let Bobe claim another soul." That night, under the light of the full moon, the villagers gathered once more, their faces determined. Abembom and Mama Tala stood at the forefront, their voices ringing out strong and clear. "We have faced Bobe before, Mama Tala said, her voice echoing across the village square. And we will face him again. But this time, we will not fight alone. We will stand together, united in our resolve to defeat him. The villagers cheered, their spirits carried up by Mama Tala's words. They knew the danger that awaited them, but they were ready to face it head on. Armed with torches and weapons fashioned from whatever they could find, the villagers set out towards the neighboring village. The journey was long and arduous, but their determination never wavered. As they approached the village, they saw the telltale signs of Bobe's presence. The marketplace stood at the center, its stalls overflowing with goods, its vendors watching with cold, calculating eyes. Without hesitation, the villagers charged forward, their shouts ringing out into the night. They fought with all their strength, driving back Bobe's minions and freeing the trapped villagers from his grasp. But Bobe was not easily defeated. With a roar of rage, he emerged from the shadows, his form towering and menacing. "You dare defy me?" he roared, his voice shaking the earth beneath their feet. Mama Tala stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "We will not bow to you, Bobe. We know the truth now, and we will not be swayed by your lies." With a flick of his hand, Bobe summoned a whirlwind of darkness, enveloping the villagers in a vortex of shadows. But Abembom, drawing on the strength of her ancestors and the love of her village, stood firm. "I will not let you harm my people," she said, her voice steady and resolute. With a mighty cry, she unleashed a burst of light, dispelling the darkness and banishing Bobe back to the realm from where he came. The villagers cheered, their hearts filled with triumph and relief. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Abembom and Mama Tala stood together, watching the villagers celebrate their victory. Though the threat of Bobe had been vanquished, they knew that the fight against darkness would never truly end. But as long as they stood together, united in their courage and their love for one another, they knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so the village thrived, forever vigilant and wise, under the loving watch of Mama Tala and the brave heart of Abembom, a girl who learned the true meaning of sacrifice and the strength of community. The moral of this story is that true wealth lies in the strength of our hearts and the bonds we share. Greed and desire can lead us astray, but selflessness and unity will always guide us back home.